There are universal laws that govern all of life. When we align with them, we create a cycle of peace, harmony, and prosperity for all of life. When we're not aligned, we create a spiral of destruction, as we can see in the world today. All societies that have ignored this truth have perished. There is a deep flaw in our system of law that treats living beings as objects or property, whilst treating corporations, which are a form of property, as subjects of the law with legal personality and rights. This fuels an economic paradigm based on endless growth that is coupled with the destruction of nature, which ultimately benefits no one. At the core of this is valuing nature for its utility to human beings as resources, property, or natural capital, rather than seeing it as the source of life. The Council of the EU have committed to strive towards an absolute decoupling of growth from the destruction of nature. If this is to happen in reality and not just be an accounting exercise, we need laws that recognize the intrinsic value of nature. And the way to do that is through legal personality, recognition of nature's rights, and a legal framework that aligns with ecology to sustain life. The diagram on the left is the usual model for sustainability. The problem with this model is that it assumes that each circle can exist independently of each other. But in reality, the only one that can exist independently of the others is nature. The model on the right is therefore more accurate. It shows a natural hierarchy because without nature, there's no people. And without people, there's no economy. This then leads to a natural hierarchy of rights, with nature's rights as our most fundamental rights because our lives depend on it, and then human rights as a subsystem of nature's rights because we're only one species in the web of life, and then property or corporate rights as a subsystem of human rights because it's there to serve human interests. In the model on the right, the rights are in service of each other rather than in conflict, working synergistically to protect the integrity of the whole. In this model, human activities have to be beneficial for humans as well as nature, or it won't work in the long run. With nature's rights and earth jurisprudence, we're creating the legal framework for this. This is in stark contrast to the model on the left, what we are seeing in the world today, with corporate rights prioritized over human rights and nature's rights being out of the picture completely. Rights are a tool for addressing power imbalances, and at present we're seeing an imbalance between the large corporations and everybody else. The current trend for corporations to sue governments for trying to protect people and nature, as in the Bayer case against the pesticide ban, and the rise in trade agreements such as TTIP and CETA, are only likely to increase. Also, we are seeing the financialization of nature, monetizing ecosystems by creating property titles out of the various functions of nature to form the basis of cash flows that can be traded on the capital markets, creating phantom wealth. This is coupled with flawed methodologies such as biodiversity offsetting, which assumes that interconnected living systems are interchangeable, like banknotes, which is ecological suicide. These trends have the potential to greatly accelerate the destruction. Bringing in nature as a stakeholder in its own right is a powerful counterbalance to corporate dictatorship. It empowers people and governments to stand for nature, the underlying basis of our economy and life, and to protect our future generations using a different structure of law. Our laws are based on an outdated 17th century paradigm, which is anthropocentric, mechanistic, and adversarial. Law governs relationships, but only between subjects of the law. Because nature is treated as an object, the law doesn't recognize the relationship between us and the rest of nature. So there's no duty of care, and there's no obligations towards nature. This not only leads to a cultural attitude of separation and disconnection, but it also leads to several practical issues that makes it virtually impossible to protect nature using the law. At the moment, environmental law is failing because it comes from the same paradigm that created the problem. It's designed to manage the symptoms of a dysfunctional system rather than address root causes. As such, It can only slow the rate of degradation. It cannot stop it or reverse it. However, we believe that deregulation and market-based solutions are not the answer. We need systemic transformation so that our laws encourage human activity that enhances the resilience of the earth. Environmental law is still in its infancy, but the good news is that it's evolving to lead the way. The first step towards a new paradigm has started with the legal recognition of nature's rights at national, local, and court levels. In Bolivia, Ecuador, New Zealand, Mexico, Brazil, India, Africa, and the USA. The UN has a Harmony with Nature initiative promoting this approach as a way to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And the IUCN have included it in their policy and their work plan. However, for these laws to be effective, they must be integrated across all areas of society, which means transitioning all of our systems to operate in harmony with nature. This will create huge opportunities for creativity and innovation, increased health and well-being, and jobs, creating living economies that serve life. We've talked about sustainability for decades, but there's actually no legal framework to achieve it. With nature's rights integrated across all policy areas and all levels of society, it creates this much-needed holistic legal framework. So this is why we are proposing a European Citizens' Initiative to take the first step of including nature's rights in EU law. This involves collecting 1 million statements of support across 7 member states, which is a huge task. And for this to happen, we need everybody in the room to be part of it, because we are all the beneficiaries: institutions, experts, NGOs, and people, to work together proactively to co-create the solution. The 7th Environment Action Programme sets out a vision for the future. In 2050, we live well, within ecological limits, with a circular economy where nothing is wasted, and where nature is restored and valued in ways that increase our resilience. We believe that nature's rights will be a powerful ally in achieving this goal, so that humanity can flourish in harmony with nature for generations to come.